And now we're going to move on to key resources. In this section, it will ask you for first the staff basics. And these are again series of questions that you can just answer to the best of your knowledge. And then once you're done, you can click on save. And then you can move on to work from home. This is where you have a list of all the people that can work from home in your department. So all you need to do is just to add a home worker and put their name, their position, any comment that you would like to add, and then how reliable their internet connection is. And it will be great to do it during this time of pandemic because you will already know whether they have a reliable home internet connection or not. And then it will also ask about their current connection, and then whether or not they will need to go to the office to get their office computer and bring them home. And then you can click on save. And then you can move on to Teams. This is where you add the different types of team that you have in your department. You can put the team right here. This is where you put the name of the team, what they do, and then comment right here. And then you will need to add the team members by clicking on add team member, then just their first and last name. You'll need to do that for all of the team members. In this section called staffing requirements, you will need to choose one of your critical function right here. After that, you will need to determine the FTE requirement under normal conditions. FTE means full-time equivalent, and this is the amount of time that you would put in that critical function during a normal condition. So 1 FTE means that you would focus on that critical function when you operate normally. Under here is the number of FTE that is required during the crisis. So this can change, it depends on your department, and the guidance right here can help you determine that. A half of FTE means that this function is not as critical because you will only need a half a time to operate that function during a disaster. You can also increase the FTE. For example, you can go up to 3.5. That means that during a crisis, the department needs to focus more on this particular function. Then right here, you would choose the staff category that perform that critical function. And then the shift, it could be first, second, or third shift. And then you can click on save, and then you can move on to the next critical function under staffing requirements. In this section is where you put any important documents that your department need. So to do that, you can just click on add document right here. The process is you put the document name, the type of document. It could be a paper or electronic version of that document. Then the department owner of that document. And this is where you put the physical location of that document if it is a paper version of it. Then if you have any document that are electronic, I would recommend storing them to OneDrive and put the URL right here. This way, when you update to the OneDrive, it will populate to the whole system. And then you can put a brief description of the document right here, the principal contact people, and any backup or loss prevention measures that you can think of in order to recover that document. Then finally, you can add any additional comment right here that you may need for that document. So now we can move on to equipment and supplies. So this is where you would register your equipment that you have in your office. So it has computer, laptop, hardwired telephone that you have in your office. Any of those equipments that you have in there, you'll have the opportunity to put that in there, and the number of equipment that you have, and any additional comment that you have about those equipments. And then you'll have the opportunity to put other equipment that you use also right here in this box. That could be a truck or any other type of equipment. Then here is where you put the supplies that you may need. This could be papers, any staplers, anything like that that you usually need. In this final box is where you will just answer a question about a pandemic. So what would you need in case you're not being able to work in your office for 2 months? So in this final box right here is where you will need to answer this question, and then you can click on save right here. And then we can move to the section called facilities and transportation. Facilities, any special space that you use in addition to your regular office or classroom or lab that you already use. So you'll just need to explain that right here in this box. And then here is where you're going to add utilities. So you need to click on utilities and select any of these. You can add any additional comment that you may have. And in transportation, you can add right here any of your transportation needs, and then any other resources that you usually need while you work in your department. After that, you can click on save right here. Then we can move on to information technology. In this section called information technology, you will put information about any application that you use in your department. And let's start with central application. These are applications that most departments also use. So you need to click on add central application right here. So right here, you can choose any of these central application in here. But if you can't find it, you can always custom your application by typing the name of the application. And then here is the level of criticality. So how critical is that application to you? How fast you need to get back onto it after a disruption. And this right here is the amount of time that shows how soon you need to go back to that application after a disruption. And then you can click on save. And then we can move on to department application right here. This is the applications that only your department use. So all you need to do is click on add application and then type in the name of that application, the owner of it, or the technical owner, what type of application it is, the backup that you should have in case that application doesn't function. There is also a backup media. You can choose that right here. And then whether the backup is automatic or is it manual. And then whether it is a database application or not. And any additional information about that application. And this part is the name of the person responsible for the recovery of that application and who are expert about that application, and then also the location of the storage of that application and how often that offsite storage is available, and then any location of installation disk. So where is that disk within your office, and whether or not you have done a recovery and have they been successful, and any additional explanation that you have about that department application. Then you can click on save. Next is servers. In this section, you can add information about your server by just clicking on add server and then filling out all this information just as if you were filling out information about department application. Then you can click on save. If you do not have any server, you can just check on this box and say we do not have any server. In this section, you will put in information about workstation and the percentage of backup that you have. So you can put in also additional comment right here if you need to. And then down here, you will explain who provides support of those workstations. So it could be whether the IT department here at Ferris or other departments that take care of that workstation. Then you can click on save when you're done with that. And then over here is how to start. This section is mainly all the recovery strategies of the technology that you have in your office. So you will need to answer these series of questions. These questions are mainly about how would you recover if a certain workplace, for example, is not available or not accessible, or if there's no internet. So you will just need to go through this series of questions and answer them to the best of your knowledge. And then click on save. And then finally, you will have an opportunity to put here any action item that you came up with as you went through the information technology. And it's the same basic. You can do a quick add or you can add a new action item. Right. And then we can move on to faculty preparedness. And this is mainly about action items. What do you need to do in order to be ready? What does your staff need to do in order to be ready? And this will show up in plan details as well. So it's the same basic. You can do a quick add or a new action item. And that concludes this presentation about how to use the Ferris State University Continuity Planning tools. You can always contact Mike McKay at ferris.edu. If you have any additional question, feel free to also contact the SHRM department staff, as we will be more than happy to assist you throughout any planning question that you may have. Thank you for watching this video presentation, and we hope to hear from you soon.